Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to September 8th, 2021, Fall River Housing Authority meeting. Martha, will you call the roll call, please?
Yes, Chairwoman Sahadi.
Yes, here.
Vice Chairman Underhill.
Here.
Commissioner Burns.
Here.
Commissioner Bentley.
Here.
Commissioner Medeiros.
Here.
Thank you. Attorney Souza, the open meeting law, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The language for the open meeting law is as follows. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made whether perceived or unperceived by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible.
Thank you, Attorney Souza. The first item on our agenda this evening is citizen input. Do we have any citizens here to speak? Seeing none, the second item is resident input. Do we have? Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you, Mary. First, I'd like to welcome John to the board. I met him outside as we parked together, and hoped like heck we were parked in a place where we weren't going to get tagged. First thing, I'd like to invite all the commissioners, as well as Tim, Kevin, Mike. Health First is having their legislative day for the farmers markets. As well, you all know, we have one on Fridays at Cardinal. I missed you by a couple of minutes. It's Wednesday, September 15th from 2 to 5. Anyone is interested in attending, just let me know, and I'll let Sarah know. They'll have free giveaways, different things, cash awards, food, and you're all invited.
And tell them where it's going to be.
I did, Health First.
Oh,
Excuse me,
oh, yeah.
387 Quarry Street.
Okay, thank you.
Second quick item is we now have 8 tenant assistants working with. We added one at Holmes this last month.
Okay.
We're looking for one more. We talked to Ed Majewski about it. We're trying to get one more for Cardinal to work on the outside grounds. And Rita approached me last week if I could provide her with 2 tenant assistants to assist her.
Excellent.
Hopefully we'll have 11 within the next month or so.
Oh, good.
Which
Oh,
is,
good.
you know, and they all seem to be working out. Eddie hasn't hollered at me yet, so they must be working out fairly well.
Good. Good to know.
Now, next thing is something near and dear to my heart. You all have a copy of this proposal to create a memorial garden at Cardinal for William H. King, to put it in his name. As you all know, he was extremely instrumental over the last 50 years with tenants all over the state. He was instrumental in formulating the very first lease that was ever approved by DHCD back in the early 1970s. What we'd like to do, and you have pictures of what it looks like. It's a circular area in the front of Cardinal Medeiros Towers. I took some pictures that you can see. You can see the picture of that. It's going to be ringed with this edging, which we found at Home Depot, fairly inexpensive. It'll last, it'll look good. There'll be a plaque in Mr. King's name. It'll say the William H. King Veterans Memorial Garden. We also have, which we obtained from the city, a picture, and you have a picture of these plaques. We have 6 of these. They're going to be positioned symmetrically around the outside of the circle and planted there also. We're also hoping to move this statue that you have a picture of from the north side of the property, where it sits kind of under a tree with a bunch of leaves, with a bunch of bushes around it, where no one can really see it. We'd like to take it, we're going to move that, and you can see if you look at the circular picture where it's going to sit towards the back of the circle. You'll need somebody to prep it, to lay a concrete pad to put it on. Hopefully the housing will be able to move it over closer to our office so we can refurbish it, get it all cleaned up, you know, acid wash. I do have a picture. There's a picture of the plate that's on it. What we'd like to do is get an acid wash on that plate so it'll show up better and look good.
That plate was donated by a resident that lived at Cardinal for a long time, who's recently passed away a few years ago, and she calls it it's an angel to watch over the residents at Cardinal.
Oh, that's nice.
You can see the cost. It's somewhere between $1,100 and $1,300 to do the whole job. Because we're going to dig up the grass, put down a grass barrier, install the pins for the flags, which we have, pour some concrete footer, and then clean and repair it. put the edging in, do all of that good stuff. And we're hoping that the Housing Authority be kind enough to donate the funding to pay for it.
Certainly. Do we have the funding for this?
Sure.
Excellent.
Thank
So
you.
we will take care of it. You can reach out to the accounting office, and they will take care of this for you.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, everyone. Oh, one last quick thing. I got to holler that on my way in. John was with me. Kevin, remind me at the next RAB meeting when we start, we need to discuss the windows in this building. I guess they've got a petition sitting on a wall out there complaining that their windows don't open. So, can't all be nice. I got to have some come. I got to bring a complaint once in a while. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else have any resident input? Seeing none, the next item on the agenda is the minutes of the regular meeting held on August 9th, 2021. The recommended action is to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept.
Thank you. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Item B is the executive session minutes from September 2020 to the present. Recommended action is to accept the minutes.
Motion to accept?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 3 is the bills and vouchers. You have in your packet the bills and vouchers. The recommended action here is to accept the vouchers as presented.
Motion to approve. Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 4, as we have each week, or each month rather, is the management reports. 1 is the applications, 2 are the occupancy reports, 3 are the tenant accounts receivable, 4 are the work order reports, 5 are the monthly Section 8 voucher activity reports, 6 is the monthly personnel count, 7 is the Director of Modernization monthly report, and 8 is the bank, comma, investment, and bond debt balance report. I believe that is a new report from the prior years. Do I have a motion to accept these grants? I mean, these reports, rather, sorry.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Do I have any questions? There are staff here that could answer any of the questions, if anyone has any specific questions. No? Okay, no questions. Do I have a motion? I have a motion, rather. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 5 is the financial report. This is the financial report for the month of, or through the period of July 2021. Recommended action is to approve the fiscal year 2022 income and expense report for the month of July. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item
6 is an update from the executive director.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, early in the month, the board month, we met with Senator Rodericks to advocate for receiving some state ARP funds, the American Recovery Plan funds. Myself, Kevin Spardella, Mike Souza, we sat down with Senator Rodericks and his aide. It was a very, very mutually beneficial meeting where he got to hear some of our concerns, as well as our appreciation for some of the things he has done in the past as far as advocating for us to get the Gateway grant over in Maple Gardens, and for us to understand some of his constraints as well as some of the opportunities the state has. So we explained to him that DHCD is looking to have made available to the state housing authorities about $450 million in ARP funds. And out of that, Fall River has the needs as determined by DHCD was about 22, 23 million. And that would be for Maple Gardens, Bishop Eat, and Corky Row. And just in general, I thought the sound bites from Senator Roderick was very reassuring, that he thought the state was looking favorably upon the request from DHCD at this point from what he had heard. So, we're really optimistic that those monies could eventually come this way. And that would be a big plus. There's a lot of structural things that need to be done. So, we're very hopeful that the Senate and House can work that out. Following, we had the employee cookout here, which was very successful, and many thanks to Joey Da Silva and the teenagers that from the sites that work with him to put that on. We do that every year. It was very hot, though, I got to say, very, very hot. Once again, I think we had a good turnout, about 60 employees. There may have been some concerns about the temperatures and whatnot, so. But it was still a good turnout. Ensuing that, let's see, about 2-3 weeks ago, I put out a survey to employees just to gather some input for future cookouts, one of the likes and dislikes. So I'm assimilating that information. The number one choice was to have it in a place with shade, possibly have some other sort of events, whether there be games, what you see typically in a cookout. They did like the weekday, and so we're going to establish a committee. I'll have Joey as the chairman, and then I'm seeking input from the employees who would like to serve on that committee. So we'll be looking at doing that for next year. This week we start with our REAC inspections, and that's an organization, a contractor that HUD hires to come around to all our sites and do physical inspections. So today we started at Baresi. Tomorrow, Dave, they go over to your place, Carter Medeiros. And then they have Pleasant View, Basin Towers, Doolin Apartments. They'll be doing this building, Oak Village, Homes Apartments. It's not going to be scored this year. Unfortunately, and I say this because, HUD is always making adjustments to their programs, and starting next year they will be implementing a new inspection standard, and we had been gearing up for that new standard this year, but they've changed it so that they're going to be doing the inspections using the old standard. So although they're not scoring us, it's really not as beneficial as it could be. I know Ed has done a lot of training, as well as some of the other maintenance employees on the new standards. So in any event, they will be useful. I know I was talking with Ed earlier today, and he thought that one of the things coming up from our pre-inspection contractor is that the turnkeys need a lot of work in maintenance, day-to-day maintenance. And later on, we'll be talking about the inspector position, and this position will help to alleviate that throughout the year versus sometimes waiting till a single moment where we just realize, oh my gosh, we've got so much to do in this place. We'll be addressing that later in the agenda. Regarding our security cameras, I have some really good news. I just got half an hour ago. We received a $250,000 grant for security cameras at Sunset Hill. That's a HUD grant. So I know Mike Souza was just, and Ed was just working with the police department. Deb Moore said also, there's been some issues there, so it's a highly needed project that we've been after for some time. This is the second grant we've received from HUD for security cameras. The first one was also $250,000, which did Cardinal Medeiros and some of Diaferio, Father D. And you'll also later on the agenda be seeing that we're going to have a discussion about our need for someone to, on a full-time basis, administer and monitor, work with the security camera systems as we're increasing the sites that have security cameras. Bishop Eat is also underway for receiving security cameras. They should be installed by March or February of next year. So this is one one aspect of the Housing Authority operations that is very valuable, I know, to the police and to keeping the security of our residents, the safety and security. So we'll be talking about that a little later on in regards to the position. We have elevator work going on, the Cardinal Medeiros elevators. At least one of them is up and running, brand new elevator. So we're happy with that project. Holmes Apartment is underway, and then after that we should be coming back to Cardinal Medeiros to do the final two. And the order of the elevators is based on a study we had done four years ago or so. So we're addressing them based on the urgency of need to replace or update them. Most of you know our parking here is temporarily being relocated. We're having work done on this building, so Tim Burke has been in contact with a few property owners around the area that possibly they can avail their parking lots for employees. If it ends up we do have to pay for that, that will be covered by the capital fund grant, so it won't hinder our operations to any extent. Finally, I'd like to welcome our new board member, Commissioner Medeiros. Welcome aboard. Commissioner Medeiros' term, I believe, goes until 2026, so we'll be seeing you for a while. In with the new, and Commissioner Medeiros replaces a longtime Commissioner Roger Taché. Roger was with us for over 20 years, and I'd like to ask the board if I may introduce a resolution thanking Commissioner Taché, former Commissioner Taché. And let me read this, please. From the Board of Commissioners, official resolution. Be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners and Executive Director of the Fall River Housing Authority hereby extends its recommendation to Roger P. Taché in recognition of his 20-plus years of outstanding dedication and service to the greater Fall River community as a Commissioner and Chairman of the Fall River Housing Authority. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners and Executive Director of the Fall River Housing Authority extends its best wishes for continued success, and that the resolution be entered in the records of the Board of Commissioners. So I would ask that a motion be made to introduce this.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And that's all I have tonight.
Thank you, thank you. Next on the agenda is new business. Item 1 is modernization. A is a request that the new video security system for Chair Bishop Joseph Eid Apartments be a proprietary item for Salvient Systems Complete View Video Management Systems, VMS platform. The recommended action is approval.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Anyone have any questions or concerns with regard to this video system? There's some information on it in the packet. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item D is a change order number 1 for Maple Gardens basement upgrades. Change order number 1 is an increase in the contract in the amount of $48,833.23 for 4 items. The recommended action is approval.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Item C is permission to advertise for bids for site improvement at Franklin B. Olivera Apartments, site improvements for underground gas services at Edward F. Dolan Apartments, and site emergency generator improvements at Nicholas W. Mitchell Heights. The recommended action here is approval.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions or concerns that can be answered? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Item D is a certificate of substantial completion for the balcony repairs at Raymond D. Holmes Apartment in Francis J. Baresi Heights. The general contractor is East Coast Masonry and Restoration Incorporated. Substantially completed the work on September 2nd, 2021. Recommended action is approval.
Motion approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 2 is miscellaneous. A is the open enrollment for Blue Cross Blue Shield Dental Blue, effective October 1, 2021. The rates for the open enrollment are included in your packet. The recommended action here is approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Through the director, did these increase at all?
They did not. For, I think, the third or fourth year in a row, no increase.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
It is.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item B is the supplemental police service contract. That contract is in your packet as well. The recommended action is continuation of the contract for 1 year period beginning October 1, 2021 to September 30, 2022 for 5 offices in the amount not to exceed $410,000.
Madam Chairwoman, in reading the contract that was included in our packets, I came across a number of items, and I'm not going to go to them in length, but of things that we're supposed to be doing both as a housing authority and as the police are supposed to be doing with us, such as having monthly or bi-monthly communication with resident leaders to go over what they're finding, what we're finding as residents, to just have an informal talk with them. And there's quite a number of things. So I would hope that we could get, I talked to Mr. Barrow earlier, get some kind of committee together that I would be happy to be on to help with better communication with the police, because one thing I know as a resident, we like when the police are there. It makes the residents feel better, and just knowing that there's going to be, like, I think we could move the meetings around, like, one have them at Cardinal, the next month have it at Holmes, the next one, so on and so forth. And I think once word gets out amongst the residents that we are looking into security and safety, that will ease a lot of minds, because both Ed Gagnon and myself receive all the phone calls we receive at the office, like 80% of them are about security. I've talked to Attorney Souza about that in the past, and it's a big concern with the residents. So I would, I have no problem with what the police are doing. I know they're on demand, so I am going to vote for this contract to be extended, but I just like to see if we can hold their feet to the fire a little more.
Oh, certainly. Do you have any thoughts about who you'd like to see on a committee?
From the housing side?
From the housing side and from the resident
Well,
side?
from the resident side, I would say that the most vocal ones are the ones that are the tenant presidents in our buildings, that, we could ask them first. They're the ones that people in their various buildings run to if they have a problem.
Sure.
And I know Debbie does a lot with the police. I'm not trying to throw you under the bus, Deb, but I would like her to be a part of it if she could give us some time if we do form a committee. But it would be a work in motion, and even Kevin.
I would just like to interject a little bit. I spoke with Joey De Silva last week, and pre-COVID, we had breakfasts at the elderly high-rise buildings with the police. And the residents were invited to come down for breakfast. Joey would cook the breakfast with the police officers, and then they would field questions and give them information. We put a freeze on that, obviously, due to COVID, but he's going to initiate them again, and they'll probably do one high-rise building each month, go around
All right, that would
with
be
the
good.
police. So
I would
that's a start.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you read the contract, it does say that they're responsible for having reports, monthly reports with resident leaders and so on. So I just want to make sure that they don't forget us.
Sure.
That's all. And maybe we can even do something with the fire department.
Just a,
Just saying.
and you could hold their feet to the fire.
Yeah, we really could hold their feet to the
Creative,
fire.
I like it.
Commissioner Maderas?
Yes, hi, Madam Chairwoman. Could I ask, what is the historical information on this contract? Did I see somewhere, does this go back to like 1990?
It goes back a number of years. As far as I know, and maybe Mr. Spardella can speak to it more specifically, but the city has provided police presence for a value, and this particular contract is at $410,000. So I don't know if it's the same individuals, the same officers that are assigned on a regular basis.
It changes
Yeah.
from time to time, which,
So the cost is cheaper than having a full-time policeman hired by the department? Like this, these are detailed policemen, is that right?
no,
No, they're the officers.
they're police officers assigned to the housing authority and also their regular duties. And it's the payment, I guess in lieu of taxes, we make a payment to them and we get, I think it's 4 or 5 police officers that concentrate solely. It's not full-time. It could be, they could be making a presence during the day, it could be at night, it could be on the weekends. So we have more of a presence at our sites.
There was another question I had, and so on page 2, item G, it says the city agrees that a policy manual exists to regulate police officers' conduct and activities. Would their conduct and activities be any different than how they conduct themselves at any other time in any other location throughout the city? Like, I was a little surprised by the inclusion of that and what that meant.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't, I wouldn't think so.
Should be the same,
And
yeah.
in terms of the laws and rules, it's the same laws and rules that they enforce throughout the city, correct? So, like, there was another location where I had seen on page 5 about unauthorized visitors, et cetera, disturbing the peace. Same rules apply, right? Same.
Absolutely.
Okay. I was-
And just so you know, these 4 or 5 officers, it doesn't prevent residents from the other police officers responding if residents call.
Okay.
So if they're not assigned today or tonight to this building, but a resident has an issue and calls.
The police are serving them the
They're
same
still-
way they're
yes,
serving everyone
exactly,
else. Okay.
Exactly.
And I
So this
appreciate
is
that
not,
clarification.
this is not to take in place of regular city police services. It's just
In addition to.
In addition to.
But on the other hand, also, I was told by the lieutenant or the captain at one point that they will pull off 5 guys if there's something going on in another part of the city that they deem more important.
And historically, has there been a noticeably higher rate of crime in the housing projects than?
I would say historically, how recent, I don't know, I can't answer that. However, I do feel that it's very effective. I know Deb Morissette has a very good working relationship. When I've attended the concerts, the movie nights, the cookouts, they're always in attendance, playing games with the residents, meeting with the residents, speaking with the residents. I know when we had that unfortunate incident at in the Corky Row at Griffin Park, there was a heavy presence there daily, monitoring that area in another form of community outreach on their behalf. I don't have as much interaction with the police officers as, say, Deborah does and some of the site managers and clerks, but what I've seen, Attorney Souza and I have met with the police in meetings. It's been positive. It's been positive.
I have one other question.
Sure.
On page 7, it brings up a note about receiving information preferably before the media is informed. For what purpose is that?
Which number is that?
On number
top,
2,
number
on
2.
page 7, media coordination?
Just to, if I may.
Certainly.
We have they have what's called a housing unit. They deal with the tenant management office with Deb Morissette. They work with us, and they'll report any activity that happened, any illegal activity, criminal activity that's happened within the developments. And the housing unit would give us the police reports if there's anything that warrants what's called a 13919, like a special eviction because there's assaultive or drug activity on the unit within any property of the housing authority, then we can initiate a speedy eviction. So with regard to media coordination, that means that if someone is arraigned, the police report will become public information. If it's summoned, we have to wait for them to be arraigned before that becomes public information. So one of the things is they give us the courtesy of bringing any of the report or any of that criminal activity down to the management office, and then it's reviewed and then forwarded to legal if necessary. But a lot of that is we've been working very closely with the police department, all departments, the housing unit as well as the vice, the gang unit, and major crimes in order to coordinate a working relationship, or we're all on board at the same time with all the activities.
And the criminal activities that we talk about are not only confined to on the premises, but in the community as well, correct?
We just deal with the criminal activity that's confined to the premises, but yes, the criminal activities, I haven't looked at the figures to tell you whether they've increased or decreased. You can get that information right from the police website, but
okay.
I see a pretty steady stream of activity, so to speak. So.
Thank you.
Commissioner, if I can just let you know a few other things. We only have security at 2 of our buildings. We have, outside security that we pay for, which is at Baresi and at Cardinal Medeiros.
Physical security, not
physical security, yeah. And they don't carry weapons or anything like that, but they are a presence at those buildings. Those are 2, if I'm right, the 2 of the most mixed population, and a lot of things happen, and I live in Cardinal, so I see it. But at the when COVID hit, we got extra money, and we had security at all the elderly high-rises because nobody was supposed to be coming into the buildings to visit. Family, delivery guys, anything couldn't get into the building because of the pandemic. So all the residents loved it then because they all felt a lot safer in the buildings. But of course, COVID eases up, the money goes away, and now we're back to just Cardinal and Baresi have security. So that's one of the big things I've been fighting for since I've been on the board. And I've even gone as far as asking if we could get auxiliary police, and I was told no. We can't get auxiliary police to just walk, not just the high rises, but like the development, like Sunset Hill, Heritage Heights, places like that. And it's just something I'm like, as long as I'm on the board, I'm not going to let it go. I'm trying to find a way to I don't want to, break the housing authority as far as spending money to have a security guard on every floor. But there's got to be a way that we can get something, and that's all. So. I will be, if you don't mind, talking to you a lot more about it.
Look forward to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the police service contract?
I just have one quick question. Does the housing authority dictate the high target times that these police officers are available, and then the city agrees to that? Is that how it works?
No, we
We kind of
really,
say like, hey, these 4 days are
well, they,
high impact, we want you there.
right. They know that better than us, really, so they determine the hours. They let us know, and, if we see something, then they'll adjust accordingly, but, as far as their scheduling, we leave it up to them, given they're the experts. They know, when extra enforcement may be needed. So it's not just a straight 9 to 4 or something
Yeah.
p.m.
So then my follow-up question would be, then do we have someone on our end that monitors that? Or do we just sign them to a contract and assume that they're doing the time in the
Well, I
housing
know Mike-
authority? Do they check in? I'm sure they're not signing in somewhere, but how do we monitor?
Mike, do you want to handle that?
Sure, we've actually we meet with them quite often to determine what the activity has been, whether we need to take legal action, whether a particular person needs to be terminated from the lease, or whether someone has a no trespass order. They keep us posted and apprised of all of that information. What we're looking to do is put some sort of, from what I'm hearing, you're looking to have some sort of like a report from the police, whether it be a quarterly report based on that contract. It kind of fell through the cracks the year before last, but I think it was due to COVID, but I think we could reinstate that. That way you can have some sort of figures if you're looking for that type of activity. That's what it looks like to me. It looks like that's what you're looking for.
And yes, at tenant meetings, we have, a lot of times the police officers will show up, and of course management will be there. And they always say that we're part of the security, the residents, that we have to have our eyes open and report anything that's going on. Well, a lot of things get reported, and then nothing gets done about it.
But they get reported to whom? The police department?
No, well, we start with the going to the management, and then from there, then the cops are they'll come and they'll talk to the residents. They know the ones to talk to also at the different sites. But the residents get frustrated because it seems like nothing's happening. Like just specific instances, I know of people that are living in my building that don't pay rent there and have been there forever. And we report it, we say that, and nothing gets done about it. I mean, I know it's hard to get somebody out, and the cops say, well, you have to physically see them go in and out, or how do you know they don't leave at 3:30 in the morning? And we don't know that, but you see people bringing in groceries and bags of clothing and furniture and stuff, and they're not on the lease. You kind of surmise that they're living there. And it's just being the tenant rep. That's the only reason I'm bringing this up, because I feel it's my job. If I'm speaking for a tenant, and that's exactly what they would tell you, that we see things that are going on, we report it, and nothing happens. That's what they would say to you.
So what we can do is maybe you and I can sit down and I can show you what I have for a report. They're based upon the reports that they report through the city, through the regular crime statistics that they put online, that they report online. So maybe you and I can go through what particular questions you have, and I can include those in the report, if you want to do that. Okay?
In regards to some of Commissioner Underhill's comments, do security cameras answer those questions of when someone arrives, when someone leaves? Like, I assume the entrances to the building are being monitored. Is that correct?
Yes. When we have working security cameras that are working and in working order, they do assist in that endeavor. Yes.
So that evidence from the cameras could support the questions being asked, like, did you see him leave at 3:30? Well, maybe somebody didn't physically see that person, but if you see that person enters and then there's no departure for a couple of days, I mean, obviously there's a task to reviewing video footage for sure, but if that's a resource, I assume that could be used?
The police do use that quite a bit, don't they? They check the cameras. Yeah.
They will.
But also in terms of people being there that are not authorized to be living there, right?
And I understand why they're focusing more on a crime that was committed, or somebody selling drugs or whatever. But it's the other things that the residents they don't pick on. I mean, that's they want to feel safe, and the bottom line is they say, I'm obeying all the laws to my lease. Why isn't that person?
Just to clarify though, Commissioner, a lease violation is not something that the police would get involved in. That's definitely a management issue that we would address. As Attorney Souza said, maybe we can meet and whoever the resident is and their apartment number, but we wouldn't, unless there was a crime committed, the police wouldn't go to someone's apartment that has an illegal guest there. We wouldn't ask them to do that.
Well, I don't know. I've heard residents complain and they say, call the cops. especially if it happens on a night or a weekend.
Call the cops on an illegal resident?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how do you know that they're an illegal resident? That's a whole nother issue that we
I
could discuss
agree,
and debate for hours.
But there should be some kind of reporting system that, or we should be doing something like Commissioner Madeira said about the security cameras. We know that the building management, people know who the ones we're saying are the illegals.
Right.
And we could say apartment, 707, 707. And then they could just concentrate on who's in and out of 707 while, we're saying that's an illegal resident.
I get that. What I'm saying is,
I guess
there's a guest policy, as you know.
Yeah.
They have to follow the guest policy. Do all the residents follow the guest policy and notify the management office in time? No. So how do we know if they're complying with the
I
resident?
agree, Mike. I agree that there's not much we can do about it, but
Right.
it's still frustrating.
When it comes to a predominantly problematic individual that's going to the apartment, then we get the police involved. No trespass orders can get placed. Preliminary injunctions can get filed on that particular individual. You get into circumstances like that.
Yeah, I'm opening a whole can of worms, and I don't mean to do it.
Well, like I
but
said, we can discuss
we've
it.
had no trespassing orders against people in our building, and they've come in the front door, and the security guard has called the police to tell them that so-and-so with a no trespassing order is in here. The police officers show and say, oh, he went up to see his mother. We can't stop him from going to see his mother. So the other residents see that and they say, well, wait, he's got a no trespassing order. He just walked in the building, cops were called, and nothing happened.
I don't want to divulge all of our secrets about no trespass orders, but if someone has a no trespass order, and one tenant signs the no trespass order, so it's a tenant enforced no trespass order, if another tenant invites that same person, they have the right to go to that apartment because there's a constitutional right of freedom of association. So that's where we run into some problems. But we can talk about how to eliminate those problems.
When the people that have the no trespassing, they're in there because they know that they're selling drugs
or just loitering and other activities, right?
And making it very unsafe. There's a lot of older people, and they gotta all come down in the same elevators and walk the same hallways as these people.
Right.
They don't want. A lot of people won't come to play bingo or come to a politician's time because they don't feel safe out after hours. Just walking the halls of their own building. They don't. That's why we had Mr. Majewski knows we had the bushes cut down on our walkway that head down to Robeson Street because people were hiding behind them at night and people were walking to the store to go get a loaf of bread or whatever, and they didn't feel safe. People were, jumping out from them, but nothing ever happened, thank God.
Right.
But we had those, concerns were brought to my attention, and I just feel I represent them, that I have to say something.
Agreed.
And I live it too. I'm telling you, I'm not a tiny little guy, and there's sometimes I don't feel safe walking the halls of that building either. You never know who's coming. Oh, when that elevator door opens, you don't know what's coming out. It's like Wheel of Fortune.
So what you're saying is basically we should reinitiate the public safety and security, not
Yeah.
only for Baresi and Cardinal, but open it up. Okay.
And
So, and you and I can work.
if anybody has ideas that what we can do to get some extra security, we need it. It's a big thing amongst the residents. It's always has been since I've been going on 13 years. And if you stop and ask the resident, what's their biggest concern, they're going to say safety. So.
But just to clarify, we don't have any issues, or we haven't had any issues recently in Commissioner Underhill's building?
Not in Commissioner Underhill's building. We've had them sporadically scattered throughout.
What about the guy on the third floor that he assaulted 2 women?
He's been terminated.
I mean, it happened in my building.
Right.
So that was her question.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question.
I believe my daughter was one of those women.
Really?
I believe so. I know
Up near,
I don't remember the name up, but I
Like
know-
near the 7-Eleven?
Yeah. About a month ago.
Yeah.
This is the resident that
He,
fled.
he assaulted a resident first on the front lawn, and then
The day before, I
day
understand.
before, yeah.
Just so that you know for the record that that person has been terminated.
I know,
There's
but
an evidentiary hearing scheduled
it
for
did
that person.
happen, and
Right. I mean, we can't stop the activity
No,
from
no.
happening, but we can try to prevent it as best we can.
Right, exactly.
I'll just
But I
say
just
one
wanted the public to know that it's not something that is
I'll just say
regular
one last
occurrence.
thing. There was one of our residents that went to the corner store, this was like 6 months ago, with a knife, and he stabbed items in the store, potato chips, loaves of bread, whatever he could stab. The cops came, arrested him, took him away. He was gone for 2 weeks, and now he's back in the building, strolling the building while he's a pacer. He walks constantly, and people that knew him as a younger person said that he got thrown out of school for doing the same thing, and he's walking our halls.
Can we talk about that one
Yeah,
tomorrow? Because
absolutely.
I'm not aware of that.
Yeah?
Any other comments or questions?
Sorry.
No worries at all. Do we have a motion to continue the contract with the Fall River Police Department for police services?
Motion to continue the contract.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item C is the Animal Control Officer contract. The recommended action is to continue the contract for 1 year, beginning October 1, 2021 to September 30, 2022, in the amount not to exceed $17,500. And this contract is also with the Fall River Police Department.
I'll make a motion to continue the contract, please.
Second.
Any questions or concerns with regard to this contract? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item D is Section 8 Payment Standards. It's effective October 1, 2021. The recommended action is to approve adoption of the new payment standards at 107% of the fair market rents. And you have that schedule within your packet as well. Do I have a motion to approve the new payment schedule?
Motion to approve new payment schedule.
Second.
Any questions with regard to the new schedule?
This is just to help the people who hold the vouchers with affordability, right?
That's correct.
That's what that increase is, yeah. Thank you.
Yes, it's the rent, the maximum rent that we can pay, and we always do a reasonable...
Put it out there to the universe so they know what we're doing sometimes. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item E is the HUD flat rent schedule. It's also effective October 1, 2021 through, in this case, January 1, 2022. The recommended action is approval.
And just for your information, this is the schedule for our public housing residents. Once a year, they can choose to have their rent based on their income or the maximum rent. New applicants who receive housing also have an option to choose. And basically, this stops someone who's in housing, say they get a raise or a new job and their income goes up, so their rent would go up, exceedingly high. Well, they can opt to have a flat rent, if you will. So it kind of levels out their payments. And then if they lose that job, they can go back to an income-based rent. So our Director of Housing every year establishes, these based on area surveys, government data, and whatnot. Catherine's here.
Do I have a motion to adopt the HUD flat rent schedule?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item F is the electrical inventory supplies contract. The recommended action is to approve a one-year contract to Electrical Wholesalers Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $35,000. And you have in front of you information with regard to the two firms that had submitted or responded to the solicitation. We have a motion to approve this contract.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions with regard to Electrical Wholesale, Inc.? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Item G is the City of Fall River Community Preservation Committee. The recommended action is to approve the appointment of Commissioner Jason Burns. Thank you.
I was thinking I didn't have anything else to do, so just add another job description there.
There you go.
You're gonna love it.
Gotta stay busy.
I'll be happy to help you with anything from my end if I
Thank
need
you.
to. Recommended action is to approve the appointment of Commissioner Burns. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain. Or I vote no. I'm just playing.
I knew that was going to happen. Item H is personnel. A is the public housing inspector position. The recommended action is to approve the job description and in-house posting and outside advertising if necessary.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may, last meeting, we introduced myself and several of the staff the need that we feel for this position. So the board asked that we come back with the position description, which is in your package. Basically the position will have as a mainstay inspecting the public housing units and the grounds. It will report directly to the director of the facilities, but probably take a lot of direction from the housing managers as well as the director of maintenance management. And our goal here again is to keep eyes on the units throughout the year, a lot more frequently than perhaps we are doing now, and to correct issues before they become major issues. And I know there's a lot of benefit that the facilities director has expressed to me in this position, as well as the housing management position. There's not a, and you can see the job duties listed throughout here. And the staff is here to answer any questions you may have on the position. I was going to say, we failed to include the salary for the position. It will be the same salary as we have for our Section 8 position, which is between, the starting rate is $42,285, and the top step, $55,921. So that's the same salary scale that we have for our current Section 8 housing inspector. And you can see that this position would follow up on failed inspections to make sure that we're following good housekeeping standards and to find out why it failed, who was responsible, and to make sure we're holding the staff accountable who maybe was remiss in finding something. Education to residents in maintaining good housekeeping, that'll be part of this position. Identifying the repairs, going to the housing court and testifying when it comes to the point where someone needs to be evicted, and responding to the city on minimum housing complaints. That will assist our legal department in that area.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Barrows?
I got a couple quick questions. Forgive me, I wasn't at the last meeting, but is this a brand-new position? Is this something that's being brought back? I know sometimes we kind of flip-flop and kind of bring it back.
No, this would be a new position.
Absolutely brand new.
Correct.
So this position, does it take the place, I guess, how do I phrase it? Who, because you had mentioned that on some of the turnkey apartments, we're not hitting on all cylinders. So who is currently, is there one person? Are there a group of people? Is this absolving several people of a little bit of work? Is that what the idea behind it?
It is. It's each site manager, or I don't think the clerks do inspections, do they? We'll do the inspections once a year. So we just don't think there's enough effort going into the inspections. You know, there are a lot of issues that do crop up, and usually when we find out about them, you know, they may come to the point of we have to evict someone. There's a lot of hoarding issues around, so identification of that beforehand. General housekeeping, whether it's molds. If a repair is done and it's not done properly, you know, they'll be on it, and then we can, again, get to the maintenance individual who's responsible for it or the contractor. And as things happen throughout the year, you know, meaning after an annual inspection, you can go inspect an apartment today, and tomorrow the door can get kicked in or the screen ripped out, and you won't know for a whole year. So this person would be on hand and hopefully doing inspections more frequent. I mean, that won't totally eliminate the clerk from going into the unit. So we still would keep we have a contractor now that we hire once a year before our REAC comes in, and we were having some discussions on that. They are extremely beneficial. We do get a lot of information, so we would probably keep that service. It'd be similar to having an auditor, an accounting, and a fee accountant. So we find that a valuable service. It's not that expensive. So we just think this would bring value to our operations. And I know you weren't here, but Ed Majewski and Deb Morissette, have some thoughts that they do think it's a necessary position. Would be beneficial. I mean, we could continue as we are, but the resources are available, so it just makes sense to try to help in that area.
Would either one of you like to come forward so you can give us your thoughts on the position as well, or both? Thank you.
Okay, so basically what we were looking for is mostly to have some consistency with the inspections. Our staff is good at inspecting, but they're a little inconsistent sometimes, and I think by having the same person do all the inspections, it may be beneficial to the housing authority.
And the same token, we were saying about the turnkeys today. I mean, one thing you have to keep in mind also, we haven't done inspections even with the subcontractor for over a year. So I can't say I'm surprised by what I'm seeing, but we're only getting 14 or 28-day notices now for REAC inspections. Whereas if we were in here before and to get these done, Debbie and I found out about the turnkeys on Friday and the deficiencies. We're getting inspected on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So it's an almost nearly impossible thing to try to get stuff done in 4 days when we haven't been inspected in more than a year.
Is this person going to alternate between all of the units? Like how,
Yes.
so you
Yeah,
have
that's
one
fine.
individual that's going to alternate?
Yes.
The only thing I would like to add is that we didn't do the annual inspections that we normally do due to COVID. So now
Last year.
This
Right.
Last
past
year.
year and a half, really.
Gotcha, okay.
So
That's why
we contracted with USIG, and that was even put on hold for a while in the height of the pandemic. So now they're just getting back to it, and they're finding these things, unfortunately, they're finding it 4 days before our actual REAC inspection, but it would be no different if our manager or clerk went in there and got back to doing inspections and found it 4 days before. So, if I guess just so you have a full understanding, if we hired an inspector during COVID, they wouldn't be going in either. So, it's not. That's why it wasn't done.
That's right, exactly.
Using the independent service that you use, I think I heard that happens once a year, is that correct?
Yes.
So is there the possibility to hire them more times during the year to get ahead of this issue and without having a dedicated person who...
Well, we could, yes, but in normal times, pre-COVID, our site management staff would conduct these inspections and/or a contracted inspector would go in. So it serves two purposes for us. We complete our annual inspection, which is required by HUD, that we go into the units. once a year. And also, it helps us prepare for our REAC inspections. It's a that's why you hear a lot of pre-REAC inspection, and they give us a detailed report with all our deficiencies, so we know what to go in and correct. However, with the pandemic, everything was thrown out of whack, and no matter who was inspected, whether it was our own or a contracted, nobody was going in. HUD and DHCD for the state properties allowed us to put a freeze on the inspections and just do like a phone call to the residents. Do you have any health and safety issues? And the residents can always report any issues.
I have a question. So pre-COVID, was the system that was in place, was that working well?
I think so. I know what we did in management to spread it out. We went by anniversary date of the resident. So you may have in the month of January, if 10 of those residents moved in January, those 10 residents would be inspected. Then if there were 4 in February, those 4 would get done, rather than just go in and having to do 220 inspections. Am I correct, Deb, with that?
Some of the properties are doing it on the anniversary date, and some are just doing so many buildings a month, or so many units a month.
Does REAC occur the same time?
No.
No.
You know, and this is another thing too, if I may, we're in unprecedented, territory right now. This has never happened where we were expecting REACs last year. We were expecting to have annual inspections last year. None of it happened. We were expecting to go into apartments and keep up on any type of maintenance stuff. We weren't going into apartments for 6 months. So just for emergencies. So,
Exactly.
So we're in, this is something that is unprecedented, really.
As Ed was saying, I'm not surprised either that there's a lot of deficiencies found, because no one has really put a good set of eyes in there. And when we put safety protocols in place for our maintenance staff, we were only addressing emergency work orders for a period of time. Routine, preventative, the other work order categories were not getting done.
Madam Chair, getting back to the position, I believe through you, Joanne, didn't you do some quick math last time and figured that if there was one person doing these inspections, how long it would take them? And
They better wear a cape and have a big S on their chest.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, the position entails a follow-up inspection, right?
Yeah, if needed, correct.
Well, in my mind, you'd have an inspection, there's some kind of checklist, or there's a report that then gets submitted. All that takes time, and then the work would need to get done. It would need to be re-inspected, so I think each unit, that person would need to visit at least twice just to get it, to do it. And it's just, there's so many units.
Yeah.
There's so many units at all these sites. I guess my question, and I'd like an opinion, do you think that this might be reactive to, because of COVID, you weren't able to get in and you weren't able to inspect. You only took care of emergencies as everybody else did. You just did what you needed to do because you really shouldn't be in someone's apartment because of COVID. Is this position now being reactive to that you weren't able to get in? If it had been normal times and you could get in and you could do it, is a position like this needed? I guess that's what I'm asking. Are we reacting to the whole COVID situation by saying help is needed?
I don't think it's reactive. I think it's more of a consistency, and there are some housing authorities that have in-house inspectors that do it, and then there are some that their staff does it. I mean, our staff does do a good job with inspecting. We were just looking to have maybe a little bit more consistency and follow-up.
I think, Tim, you mentioned, did you say that you have a contractor come in, or at some times you would have a contractor come in?
Yes, that's the USIG who does the pre-react inspections. As,
And they're not going away, they're still in place, they're doing the pre-react
yeah,
inspections?
yeah. They send the contractor to go through. Deb, would you give an example?
They're doing all our federal sites.
So give an example of if they came to Holmes. They would do Holmes in one day, right?
They would do Holmes, O'Brien, and Oak Village in 2 days.
So that's 260 units.
One-bedroom units, too. I mean, those are pretty quick to get through. You know, a one-bedroom and a
And
four-bedroom.
do they actually do every unit?
Yes.
In common areas.
And common areas, boilers.
So that's
And
2 minutes per unit?
how thorough are those
They're-
reports?
They're pretty good.
They're pretty good?
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple of things that Ed said that were missed, but they were the minor things.
The majority of items
Very
are...
minor, like light bulbs today at Baresi, a couple light bulbs.
Refrigerator gasket.
Refrigerator gaskets, stuff like that. They were pretty thorough.
But you can see they got to whip through there. I mean, again, 16 hours to do 260 units.
It's one person?
Yes.
Or is it a team?
One person with a staff member who also will go around with him and turn stoves on and...
So is there an opportunity to have them come in more than once a year?
Oh, sure. I mean, I think we spend about $18,000 to
I'm just thinking if
$20,000.
it's consistency, you like what they do, there's somebody already doing it.
Well, again, though, if they're spending, very little time there, maybe there's more there that we don't know about. I mean, we could hire them again. It just seems they would be much more thorough by having a full-time inspector. I think we'd get a lot more out of the position. Clearly, we've worked without one. I mean, this isn't something that we desperately need. It would be an enhancement to our operations. And, operational-wise, the budget's in a position that it could handle that. So that takes care of that. So again, we're just an improvement to operations. Yes, we can continue how we have fared over the past years, although our REACT scores are doing better, but I think, the more eyes we have on the units more often, and this doesn't preclude clerks from ever going in a unit. So, I think there is a lot to be said for the consistency and the hands-on effort, if you will. But we can definitely operate without it, so again, it's...
You said it was 18 or 20,000 for the one time right now?
Yeah.
Yes, I believe, is that right, Kevin?
18,000.
Yeah, it's 18 for all the
18,000.
federal units.
So they're doing about a little over 2,000 units for $18,000, and we're getting a detailed report. So even if we had them going twice, that's 36,000.
Which is less than the
Which is
employee.
less than, without fringes.
Exactly.
And you like the information they're giving you.
I mean, is that something we could do, try for a year after post-COVID, to see how it helps get back on track? Because it sounded like this issue didn't exist pre-COVID, and that, like Commissioner Bentley brought up, is this some overreaction to what was a temporary situation, that maybe the better option might be to just utilize the services of this independent contractor and then reassess after that? And
Yeah, I think that's a great solution. We can do that. There's no immediate need. It's more of an enhancement, so there would be no issue with that at all.
Attorney Souza, so at this point, should we just table this, or?
Two options. You can, thank you, Madam Chairman. You could table the matter indefinitely or table the matter for a period of 1 month, have it come back. If you table it indefinitely, it would give the administration the time to repost it for the board's reconsideration at another date, rather than 1 month. If it doesn't come up at the next month, it'll die automatically.
Okay, so do we have a motion to table it indefinitely? Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item D is the lease housing clerical staff supervisor position. The recommended action is the approval of the appointment of Susan Radier.
Madam Chair, at the last meeting, the board gave us permission to interview. We did interview several candidates, I believe, at least maybe two. Don't want to mislead you. And the committee recommended Susan Radier, which we've gone ahead and assigned her to the position. So we're asking this to be, excuse me, maybe I'm off. She hasn't started yet, right? We've waited. Okay, so she has not started yet. So we're recommending approval of her to the position. And this will be the supervisor for the housing clerks in Section 8.
I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of Susan Radier.
Second.
Martha, roll call, please.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Bentley.
Yes.
Commissioner Underhill.
Yes.
Commissioner Maderas.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sahadi.
Yes. Item C is the rental integrity specialist position. The recommended action is to ratify outside advertising.
Motion to ratify.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Item D is the public housing administrative assistant position. Recommended action is to ratify outside advertising.
I make a motion to ratify.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item E is the temporary maintenance custodial floater position. The recommended action is to approve the appointment of Lawrence Fonseca.
Motion to approve the appointment.
Second.
Martha, roll call, please.
Commissioner Burns,
Yes.
Commissioner Bentley.
Yes.
Commissioner Underhill.
Yes.
Commissioner Maderas.
Yes.
Chairwoman Sahadi.
Yes. Item F is security camera / information technology position. A recommended action is discussion.
Yes, this is another position we've talked about, at least amongst the staff, for 1 year, if not two, intermittently. And it has to do, again, with a subject we've discussed, if not directly, indirectly tonight, the security issues. And we're getting to the point where we feel having an individual that would be responsible for the administration of the security camera technology system, as well as some other duties in the IT department as of yet to be defined, would be real beneficial. And I'd like the Assistant Director of Management, Deb Morissette, and Mike Souza, maybe to share with you some of their concerns about our current not having the position. And it's really just an ad hoc situation of who deals with the police on the cameras, who maintains any semblance of making sure they're all running. We currently have an IT person who has a very small contract to help us in this regard, but an authority our size with 2,200 units, and we're starting to get them all on camera. I think we really need someone who can focus on making sure they're always operable, working correctly, getting the right information, and then dealing with the different parties who require the information from the systems. So Deb and Mike, maybe you can share some of your thoughts on our need for this position?
Yeah, right now, we only have someone that's part-time that does the security camera stuff, retrieving information, checking the cameras to make sure they're working, and it just isn't enough. It's very embarrassing in my position to get a call from the police department, go to a site, pull up the video when the camera's broke, or it's, you know, there's something, a tree in front of it, or the DVR isn't powering up. So if we had someone that consistently monitored our equipment, then we would have better value of what we have. I think, you know, it's great that we're getting the safety and security grant from HUD, but if we have no one to maintain the system, then it doesn't make any sense to even have a grant if we don't have the people that are gonna make sure that everything is always working properly. So it would be great for us to have someone in-house versus having to call someone and have someone part-time. Or if there's an issue, someone that can follow up and make sure that the cameras are repaired.
Does anyone have any questions of Ms. Morissette?
Just a comment, I couldn't agree more with you. I mean, we're staring down the barrel of a $250,000 grant, and having somebody work part-time doesn't seem like it's good for business here. So certainly I would be in favor of that position, and a knee-jerk reaction would be we might need more than that, to be honest with you. So it's a good start if we go that route.
I agree.
So this is another position we will need a job description for
Correct,
and a salary schedule.
correct. We'll do that for the next meeting?
Okay. Okay, everyone? That was just discussion.
Thank you.
Item G is a 2% COLA increase for the executive director, retroactive to 4/1/21. The recommended action is approval.
So, Madam Chair, if I may, this 2% increase is consistent with what was received by the unions and the non-union employees for our last wage increase. My last wage increase actually was December of 2019, so I'm only going back to April of 2021 and not December of 2020. So for consistency's sake with the other employees, that's what I have put on the agenda.
Just remind me, was there a provision in your contract for evaluations? And then, because I remember we had a discussion, I believe it was in executive session, probably December of 19, with regard to both your evaluation as well as the salary increases.
Right. It's a evaluation and a salary increase between, I think it's 1% and 5%.
So I'm not sure what the pleasure of the board is, but should we go through the evaluation process?
That would be up to
Saying
the,
yes.
that would be up to the,
Sorry.
that would be up to the board. I just thought this might be an easier, I mean, I welcome the evaluation, but, 2% cost of living, I thought it might be easier. I always, if the board needs an update, if I need an update, that's definitely welcome, however you wish to proceed.
Any comments, concerns, thoughts? How does everyone want to proceed with this?
I guess my question would be, what other department heads, what is the procedures that they adhere to? Is it evaluations and then being given the increase?
Typically, the way raises on wages work is we negotiate with the unions, and then whatever is established with the union passes on to the non-union employees. We don't do wages or performance payments based on performance, wage increases. It's usually across the board.
So taking steps to do an evaluation would be unusual? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, it's, right now, the reason I asked the question is I had remembered that it was in Mr. Barrow's contract, where the rest of the employees are not contract employees. So they follow the union in terms of increases. So performance evaluations don't really exist in the housing authority, the way you would know them in private practice. Any other thoughts or questions?
I don't recall what it said in the contract, so I'll lean on you for that one. Personally, I was comfortable with 2% because that's what the union members got. I think they equally worked their tails off this year during a difficult year, so I was comfortable with that. However, I'm also a contract guy, and if that was written in there that that's what we're supposed to do, then I want to follow through with that. I can't remember what was on there, so I will have to take somebody else's word for it.
No, I echo that, and that I tend to follow the rules as well. If that's what the contract says, again, I don't know, that's what it says, that I would like to do that procedure.
I would agree.
Okay, we'll set that up for next meeting.
Okay. We'll set something up. Martha, you might even have the paperwork from
I do.
the last time. Okay, thank you. Item H is the board appointment of John Maderis. Welcome, John. This was for information only, so I'm sure we'll be speaking.
Madam Chair, just to clarify, was there a motion to table? Is that a motion to table item G?
Oh, I'm sorry. You are correct.
So we could table that.
Yes,
for 30
it
days.
it was an item, so yes, do I have a motion to table item G, the 2% COLA, until the evaluation process?
Motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Items I, can I take these
I would say we would take
Can I take them-
I through L.
I through L together?
Yes.
Thank you. So item I is a lawsuit. It's docket number 2173 CV 00570. Item J is litigation status of Maple Garden basement lawsuit. Item K is employees on extended workman's comp. And item L is Watapa Heights litigation update. The recommended action is anticipated executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss the strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public authority or public body. And the chair myself so declares that that is the case. So I need a motion to go into executive session to discuss these 4 items.
Motion, motion to go into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a motion to go back into open session?
Motion to go back in open
Second.
session.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. There's nothing else to come before the board this evening, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.